and thank you to the Skeptics for inviting me to speak again this year. And we're going to pretty much leave off we're going to pick up where we left off last year, really, in the fact that last year it was to talk about what's curing my MS and my son's autism, and this year we're pretty much talking the same thing, just different woo this year. Last year it was stem cells, this year it's fecal microbial transplant. Okay, so this was me when I ran my lab, and I've only left the lovely environments of the ivory tower in the last couple of months, so I'm still demob happy, as it were. But in my time there, I was running a lab basically doing gastrointestinal microbial pathogenesis, looking at the host pathogen interactions in gut microflora. And two of the bugs that I have published on is Helicobacter pylori, the stomach ulcer bacteria, and Clostridium difficile, which is a superbug which forms spores that can contaminate our hospitals, and any nurses in the room would know all about that. I was also, during my time at Deakin, course director for major themes of medical biotechnology and infection and immunity. I was the unit chair for Intro to Med Biotech, Immunology and Haematology, as well as Emerging Infectious Diseases, and on the Geelong Centre for Emerging Infectious Diseases Steering Committee, which I'm actually still on. And obviously I'm, some of the cheerleaders for the Stop with the AVN movement. I use the hashtag all the time on my Twitter account, so they're fabulous people, and I was so glad to hear their story today. But then at the end of 2014, I had the diagnosis of tumour-factive MS, which, knocked me for six. And those of you who came last year would have seen the picture of my scary brain lesion that I put up. And can I say that talk I did at the Victor Chang Institute Public Awareness Day for Stem Cell Research 3 weeks ago. So I got to recycle a talk from the Australian Skeptics, and they thought it was just as amazing as you guys did, so which is good. Okay, so this is where we left off, the end of last year. And I'm going to take my shoes off because they're bloody killing me. And they are the Louboutins. So I bought them. So the money I saved from dodgy naturopaths basically paid for these because they're $1,000, and I think a couple of trips to the naturopath plus all the supplements was going to be about $1,000. So I definitely saved my money there. Okay, close down. Okay, so that's my take-home message. Life's short, buy the damn shoes. That was my take-home message last time. Now I've got a mobility scooter, as you can see there. That's my mobility scooter. Uma, I like to call her Uma, as in Uma Thurman, Kill Bill. I don't have a samurai sword or yellow leathers, but I'm working on that. And I spend a lot of time out getting my vitamin D. But as I said, I left the academy and I became the GM of Education, Skills and Events for MedTech MTP Connect, which is a government initiative out of the Department of Innovation, Industry and Science, looking at growing the ecosystem of Australian medtech pharma so that there's more interactions between the academics and industry so that we can get more CSLs and cochleas developing over the next 10 years. And so pretty much I'm a big pharma shell. Well, it's sort of Team Australia pharma shell. It's a bit, oh my God, what am I going to call it? And I can actually say 3-word slogans without even batting an eyelid now. I can't even tell you how many times I've said jobs and growth in the last 2 months. Like if it was a 3-word slogan drinking game in my new job, definitely jobs and growth is my favourite, and I would have been very drunk by the end of the day if I was playing that drinking game. Okay, but today we're here to talk about More Poo Woo, which I subtitle, What BS Have I Come Across on Social Media That's Claiming to Cure MS and Autism? Now, for those of you who don't know, my son has high-functioning autism, and I found that out several years before I found out I had MS. So you can imagine the amount of woo I have been exposed to in these kind of fields. I mean, I cannot go to help groups, I cannot go to parent support groups, because I just get into arguments with people, okay? Because everybody is addicted to it. And in fact, I had the hospital pharmacist gave me the number of a naturopath when I was sitting in the hospital getting my prednisolone just after I had my diagnosis. I mean, that's how pervasive woo is. And so it just shocks me that when I get interactions like that. Okay, so which ones have come across my bowels this year? So I spend most of my time on Twitter because telly isn't very good. I don't have Foxtel, and I can't get Netflix because they don't have the NBN down near me in Ocean Grove yet. So I spend a lot of time on Twitter. And some of my Twitter buddies are world-renowned microbiologist experts who do the microbiomes of many different organisms, including humans. This is Elizabeth Bick. She's just left the Stanford Medical School and is now the scientific editor of Ubiome, which is a company that was started up to look at different aspects of the ubiome and basically crowdsourcing poo. So she crowdsourced poo. I mean, I've crowdfunded money for research into poo, but she's actually crowdsourced. That company actually crowdsourced poo. Okay, so her Twitter account is Microbiome Digest, and she has a blog also called Microbiome Digest. And so I knew her through my interactions on Twitter in the space of microbial interactions. I also got to know Professor Jonathan Eisen, phylogenomics, on Twitter, and he also has a blog called Phylogenomics Blog, and he's also one of my very, very favourite people for inventing the hashtag not yet another mostly male meeting, which is a women in science advocacy hashtag. And so he's very pro making sure there's enough women represented on panels at scientific conferences. And so he's a male champion of change in my eyes, and I'm very happy to know him. On his blog, he's got a page devoted to overselling the Microbiome Award. And so I encourage you to go and read those. And someone I'm mentioning today may appear on there a couple of times. Okay, so we were having a discussion, and Elizabeth had drawn my attention to something which then ended up being picked up by a journalist in America from Forbes magazine, and it's the Microbiome Medicine Summit. And we were all like, why weren't we invited? We were all like, what? And you know, Elizabeth and Jonathan particularly were like, well, it can't be a summit on the microbiome medicine because we haven't been invited, you know. And it was also picked up by a New Scientist this year as well, who looking into this concept of micromania, where it's suddenly become trendy to use your gut microbes to cure everything. And so the Microbe Medicine Summit is here, and if you want to go onto the website, you can go and click on that. I won't bore you with the video of the lovely Raphael Kelman, but just be assured that it's the usual, you know, really polished, smarmy, woo, merchant kind of sell there. And you know, this was the selling point on the website. Is your microbiome the missing link for achieving optimal health? You know, we've heard this all before, and it's all about could help you improve your emotional and physical well-being. And again, this guy has got a medical degree. Okay, he's not a chiropractor, he's not an osteopath. He has a medical degree, and in America they seem to flourish. These people with MDs that also are into functional medicine, and he's one of them. Now, on the site, it says here that he's a sought after, and obviously he's also does lots of things, autoimmune diseases, autism, and I'm like, oh yeah, bells are ringing now. Holistic gut health, and he's been interviewed by Dr. Deepak Chopra, which I don't know how that's a selling point, and obviously he's been featured in countless publications like august tomes such as Marie Claire and W magazines and Women's Health. I'm not sure. I don't know. Dave Hawkes, what was that journal we were in last? Is that on that list? Nature, that's the one. Right. Yeah, I'm not seeing that there in that list. Just saying, Raphael, step up, dude, step up. Okay. So yeah, notable industry professionals. And obviously, this man thinks that your microbes can read your brainwaves. Okay, that's one of his favourites. I don't know where he got his degree in microbiology, but he really needs to take that back and get another one. And then obviously we've got the sort of grand poobah, the lovely Joe, I like to call him Joe McCullough. And obviously when they say experts, they mean grand poobahs of woo. That's how I like to think of them as. Okay, so I went onto the Kellerman Centre website after listening to some of the woo. I think I wasted about an hour of my life listening to one of their talks. oh, but I registered under a false name, as I do. You know, I have a false name set up just specifically to go on, and I actually have a false Facebook account specifically to go on Woo sites as well. It's almost like I'm Reasonable Hank or something. And sock puppets, yes, I have a sock puppet, but she's called Sally. Now, so I went onto the website and said, right, how are they going to cure me of all these things that I'm interested in? Autoimmune disease, obviously MS is an autoimmune disease. Autism, my son's autism, what's going to fix that? And obviously my autoimmune disease is a neurological disease. I've got a couple of holes in my white matter, as you saw last year if you were here. Okay, so this is, I've just pulled one of them up. This is autism on the website there. Lots of interesting things. Yeah, don't read it, Joe. Don't read it. don't torture yourself. Let's just go straight down to this bit at the bottom. I was like, treatment with a biomat, a device that restores gut function with infrared light. I was like, weird. Okay, what's that, Google? And apparently, it's FDA device worthy, apparently. And it's this amazing technological advancement. Amethysts, yeah, amethyst. Apparently that's what creates the far infrared signal, is the layer of amethyst within this sort of mat. I'm not a geologist, I'm not a physicist. Unfortunately, Lawrence isn't here, he could help me out with this. I don't know what the hell that is. Okay, so I also don't know why you would need to intercept water vane waves and harmful... What even is that? What is a water vane wave? See, we really needed Lawrence here. We needed someone that understood waves to help me out. But to be honest, I think it's just a posh electric blanket, okay? That's what I'm saying to you. It's increasing your circulation because it's an electric blanket, not really anything else in that, you know, waterproof layers, etc., etc. So it's a waterproof electric blanket as far as I'm concerned. But I was disturbed by the fact that they had given me an FDA device number. And I went, I'm just going to go and have a little checky check on the FDA website. So I went to the FDA website. No. No, not found. Sorry, not found. What a shock. Because that's never happened before. People making claims about medical devices that you then check on the TGA or the FDA website and they're not there. That never happens. But let's get back to the topic of the day, which is poo milkshakes. And this is actually, it was designed for my No Poo Taboo campaign, and it is actually supposed to represent poo milkshakes. But there's a lot of scientific merit in fecal microbial transplants, and I know all about that because I studied Clostridium difficile. And this open access paper, so you can download this review for yourself if you wish, and have a read, and this is where I'll get a couple of slides from today. So, we've got the disorders associated with altered intestinal microbiota, and we've got the gastrointestinal ones here. And I'd just like to point out the bits at the bottom, which are actually the keys to what, you know, when they say associated, what do they mean by that? And they're talking about the letter A represents beneficial effects in a case series, and B is a beneficial effect in randomised controlled clinical trials. Okay, and so we've got recurrent Clostridium difficile infection, and in fact the first description of clinical efficacy for fecal microbial transplants was in the New England Journal of Medicine at the start of 2013, I think, to treat recurrent C. diff infection. And so that was the first true clinical study that's been done for this. In fact, they had to cancel the clinical study because of the fact that it was so efficacious. They had to offer it to the other arms because it was better than the conventional treatment. So they actually had to stop it because of clinical endpoints being reached early, and so they had to offer it to everybody on the study for ethical reasons. Then we've got inflammatory bowel disease, which is also a level B there. So for those of you who are interested in the evidence hierarchy, you can see that case-controlled studies or case series is right down the bottom of unfiltered information, and just above few opinions. And then you've got randomised controlled trials a bit further up the pyramid. But at this point, there hasn't been enough research and randomised controlled trials to actually do any of the high-level filtering in the evidence for this, in this space. And so we haven't got to the point where there's enough trials out there published in the literature for a systematic review to take place. But, you know, some people don't need such systematic reviews. I just know. And I think anyone from the Northern Rivers Vaccine Service would know what I mean by that. I'm sure they've heard that a few times for excuses why people they come across are not vaccinating their children. Okay, so what are the non-GI conditions associated? Well, we've got a whole big long list here. And again, let's look at the ones. We've got autism, my personal favourite, and multiple sclerosis. And again, only case studies at this point. So case studies are basically anecdotes, but written up by medics. Okay, so there's n equals 1 in that statistical cohort. And then you've actually got diabetes. It's starting to show some promise in a randomised controlled trial. And so, you know, we're getting there with this. Yeah, we're getting there. So that the science is starting to catch up with the pseudoscience in the fact that we're doing it properly, and it takes time, and it takes a long time, and then to form an evidence base in a space in a new, with a new technique like this. And that's where we are at the moment in the science field. Whereas the woo merchants like to just fill that vacuum with taking that little bit of grains of scientific credibility and then just going for a mile with that little bit of that little inch of scientific credibility, and then they just run a mile. And that's what I have a problem with, because they start making promises to people that they can't really uphold. Okay, so this brings me to the power of poop. Okay, so this is a website called The Power of Poop. Please download it. I don't know if there's an app. But basically it's supposed to promote the safe, accessible fecal microbiota transplants for all who need it. Okay? So if you're sitting here today thinking, hey, I've got inflammatory bowel disease, I'm thinking I might do that myself, then this website is for you. And as I say, there's a lot of anecdotes on there, a lot of anecdata, and you can see there we've got Carlos telling us how fecal microbial transplants have improved his MS. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, mate. And then obviously there's always, as always, there's all the, come buy stuff off us, buy a book, buy this, buy whatever, contact our favoured suppliers. It's always there somewhere. Okay, but they do offer, for those of you who wish to have a DIY fecal microbial transplant, they offer instructions. Okay, I didn't download the video, okay, I'm not going to show any videos, but apparently there is. You can go onto YouTube and there is videos of people doing this. Apparently. Well, it's very bizarre. But anyway, here's the shopping list. Here's what you need to go out and buy. Okay? I'm still wondering what the heavy-duty adhesive hook is for. I didn't look too closely into it. But Bristol stool chart, that's something I've heard of, because that's used frequently by gastroenterologists to judge the different sort of standards of poo, as it were. And of course, no good SciComm would be complete without a picture of a cake. So all good SciComm happens through the medium of bakery goods, and I have had Brian Schmidt explain his Nobel Prize with the brioche, raisin brioche model of the expanding universe. So, as I say, bakery goods, always good to explain any science communication thing you need to. And this is a sort of Bristol stool chart, and you do have to assess the poo that you have been donated, and they do warn against sort of getting donations from people that are not tested for various things, because there is inherent dangers of swapping feces from someone else into your body. I mean, it's a bodily fluid after all, and it's a pretty complex bodily fluid, shall we say, and so you really shouldn't do this at home with donor poo if you don't know the donor. Just what I'm saying. If you don't share bodily fluids with that donor already, you probably don't want to share poo with them. That's just my take-home tip. Okay, so here we go. Here's the picture they put on the website. So this is what it looks like. You've got your blender, you've got your funnel, and your bags and whatever. And basically they give the instructions that their DIY instructions, they don't require assistance. But I say to you, there's people in the world that make money out of stuff like this. And one of them is my friend in London called Miss Evelyn, who is a dominatrix. Okay? And she specialises in weird stuff with shit. Okay? Men pay her. Men pay her to donate her feces to them in real time. Okay? And how do I get these friends? I get them on Twitter. Okay? That's what you get from Twitter. But she's very nice. She bought me breakfast in London when I was there recently, which is a lovely woman. Yeah, so you can pay someone to do that. And I think actually if you go on to FetLife, there's probably some groups that will actually help you with that as well if you need someone to assist you so that you don't have to use the adhesive hook to hang your bag of poo milkshake on the wall and then give yourself an enema. Okay? But just saying. Okay. On that note. But there is good news. In Australia, we have a current trial running on fecal microbial transplants to treat ulcerative colitis. And is anyone here from South Australia? There we go. South Australia is the place to be if you want to be on this trial. It's being run out of the SA Health. So Sam Costello there on the left. And I was given this information by Carly Rosewarne, who's one of my Twitter buddies again, who gave me that. She actually sent me the grant that they got, and she told me the preliminary results of that grant is that they've got more than 33% improvements on the clinical endpoints for the treatment, and in the placebo it's less than 7%. So they're starting to see that. They haven't published it yet because they haven't finished the trial. So that's hot off the press scientific data there. Shh, don't tell anyone. And it's the woman leading that project is the Professor Jane Andrews. And so she's obviously got, and you can see here from her grants, she does fairly much a holistic look into this space. So she's got not just the NHMRC grant looking at transplants for ulcerative colitis, she also does psychological care in IBD practice, and she's exploring the roles of diet as adjunctive therapy. And if you want to go on the trial, you can go on the ANZCART database, you can go and register there. And they would love to have you if you meet their criteria. Okay, but now let's talk about someone else who likes to peddle in dietary stuff. So I think you probably trust Jane Andrews rather than this guy, who's, if you don't recognise him, it's Joseph McCullough. And I fixed this for him. That's what I've decided. I'm like, never mind your chronometer, Joe. What about crapometer? Because frankly, the free tracking tool that I use to monitor Woo-based MS cures is my Twitter account. And so I would encourage you to get one so that you can do that. Thank you.